In order to understand why I might want to buy stock over buying an option, I have to understand something called probability. Now, if you already know what probability is, just blow through these couple of slides. If you don't, hopefully this simplified version of it will give you at least a rough understanding of probability. And all probability is we're looking at a specific event, and it's the chance of something happening. In the case of an event, there is always a 100% chance that something happens or it doesn't happen. I know it sounds a bit confusing, so let's take a look at a specific example. So when I talk about probability and the chance of something happening or not happening, what do I actually mean? Well, let's take something simple like flipping a coin. Okay? When I flip this coin, what is the probability it's going to land on heads? Flip the coin, it landed on heads. What was the probability that was going to happen? Well, there's a 50% chance it was going to land on heads and a 50% chance that it wasn't, which means it lands on tails. Add those two together, chance of something happening and not happening, and they always have to equal 100%. But how did I actually work that out? So how did I actually work out my odds of flipping heads? Well, in the case of flipping a coin, right, there's only two things that can happen, heads or tails. But here's the important part. These are two equal chance outcomes. There's an equal chance it lands on heads and an equal chance it doesn't, which means it lands on tails. So in order to figure out my chance of landing on heads, specific event now, we're not looking at heads and tails, all I want to know is what is the probability of me flipping a coin and it lands on heads? What I do is I start with 100%, which I always do when working out probability because that's the total of something happening or not happening. And in this case, I only have two outcomes and they're equal outcomes. So I take my 100%, I divide it by 2, and what I've come up with is there is a 50% chance when I flip a coin that it lands on heads and a 50% chance it doesn't. And notice that 50 plus 50 equals my 100. These two numbers always have to equal 100 every time. So let's look at a different example when it comes to unequal chance outcomes. In this case, we're going to look at a crash, right? So what are my odds of getting in a crash this year? Well, there's a 100% chance I do or don't get in a car crash this year. But these are unequal chance outcomes. And what I mean by that is it turns out that 1 in 16 people actually get in a car crash per year. So if I want to figure out what is my probability of getting in a car crash this year, how do I do that? Well, I start with 100%, which is always the total of something happening or not happening. In this case, it's a 1 in 16 chance. It's not 1 in 2. It's not equal. They're unequal. So if I want to figure out my chance of getting in a car crash, I take my 100%, I divide it by my 1 in 16 chance, and what that works out to is I have a 6% chance of getting in a car crash this year and a 94% chance that I don't get in a car crash this year. And again, please notice 6 plus 94 equals 100. They always have to add up to 100. So hopefully that brief synopsis of probability makes sense. Watch it a few times if it didn't. Just kind of get the raw idea of what we're trying to accomplish here as far as what probability means.